I had to tell everybody because I needed help. You know, I needed someone to help me stand, and I needed someone to help. Sorry. I needed someone to help me to get there.
It's okay.
In other words, Christina Applegate's life is a true garbage can of tragedy. She has lived through practically every terrible story you can think of. Her life is a veritable garbage can. All of these things, for some reason that is not really evident, were constantly brandished at Christina. A childhood that was filled with loss and suffering, a hereditary illness, or even a non-genetic ailment like depression or anxiety. The fact that every time things appear to be getting better, it appears as if her life could be stable for a while, but then some type of calamity occurs again, is the thing that causes the most sadness among those who are supporting her. In the case of this unfortunate lady, the most recent story came as a total and absolute shock to her, because it is a lengthy narrative. I ask that you continue watching this video until it is finished. I believe that once you have finished listening to it, you will not expect her endurance to be as exceptional as it actually is. Please continue watching this video until it is finished. In my opinion, we want to start with her youth, when she was forced to put in a lot of effort throughout her childhood, and when her mother's illness had a significant impact on her performance. This is a long journey, and I believe that we start with her youth. This has been a long path, triumphed over every future catastrophe that occurred. The ability to make people laugh has been a strength that Christina Applegate has possessed for a lengthy amount of time. Nevertheless, through the course of her life, she has been met with a number of sad situations that have occurred behind the scenes. In spite of the fact that her family went through some extremely challenging times, she has been forced to deal with a number of health problems that are becoming worse. Christina, in spite of everything that took place, managed to achieve an extraordinary and astounding level of fame in the Hollywood sector. Applegate was born in Hollywood on November 25, 1971. Her birthday is now November 25th. In addition to being a singer and actor, her mother, Nancy Pretty, was also an actress. Her father, Bob Applegate, was employed at Dot Records. In honor of her mother, Applegate was given her name. On the other hand, Christina did not have a lot of time to spend with her father when she was younger, because her parents divorced when she was only 5 months old due to a disagreement. This topic was brought up by her on an episode of a program that was called, "Can You Describe Who You Are in Your Own Words?" She stated that she is a part of him, much like a bit of his personality. She called her a component of him. In the 1970s, attractive women had a limited number of opportunities to work in the broadcasting industry. Because of this, Christina had no choice but to take action as a child actress in order to provide assistance to the family. Christina stated in the year 2020 that acting was something she had always done because she needed to live. This was the reason why she had always done it. As a result of her performing advertisements on radio or television, she stated that they are able to earn money, which in turn enables them to acquire food. Within the 2000s, Christina endured yet another terrible breakup. In addition to the separation of her parents, both of these events occurred within the decade. Following a period of courtship that lasted for several years, she ultimately decided to get married to the actor Jonathan Sheesh. On the other side, they made the statement that they were going to separate in the year 2005, and the divorce was finalized at that time. The tragic news that Christina Applegate's mother had breast cancer was delivered to her mother in the year 1978 when Christina was just 7 years old. The news was presented to her mother. Nancy made the decision to undergo a mastectomy, which is a surgical surgery that involves the complete removal of breast tissue. She did this in order to halt the course of the sickness. On the bright side, following the therapy, it was determined that she did not have any cancer. However, the battle was not yet over. The recurrence of cancer occurred in 1986, and this time it was found in her abdominal cavity. Over the course of 2 years of intensive treatment, Nancy underwent a total of 7 surgical procedures, which ultimately resulted in the removal of the cancer. 1988 was the year when she was finally able to successfully beat cancer for the second time. The presence of cancer continued to be a problem for the family, which was a devastating turn of events. In most cases, when a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer, there is an increased possibility that her daughters will also be diagnosed with the disease at a later stage in their life. As a consequence of seeing this, Christina had a significant increase in her weight. She was well aware of the fact that breast cancer was a possibility for her own time in the future. She wanted to be prepared for everything. Keeping this concern in mind, she promptly devised a plan for early and routine screening in order to discover any signs of the sickness as quickly as possible. She did this in order to prevent any further complications from occurring. Christina gained the ability to value each and every moment that she spent with her body and to prioritize her health above all other worries as a result of the experience of living with the threat of breast cancer on a daily basis. Beyond the fact that she was simply doing it for herself, Christina's commitment to preventative health management extended to incorporate other individuals as well. She decided to adopt the role of an advocate in order to bring attention to the issue of breast cancer. Utilizing her position to educate people about the significance of early detection and screenings that are performed at regular intervals, she takes advantage of her position to educate people. As a result of the advocacy work that she undertook, she had the intention of motivating individuals to take responsibility for their own health and to seek timely medical care when it was required. Within the most recent episode of the show Who Do You Think You Are?, it was disclosed that Bob Applegate, the father of Christina Applegate, was raised by his grandmother on his father's side for most of his childhood. Christina Applegate is named after Bob Applegate. The fact that his biological mother had left him when he was still a child resulted in a reduction in the quantity of information that he knew about her. During the course of a search that was initiated by Christina's sister, they came upon their father's birth certificate, which contained a lot of incredibly significant data. It was also revealed that Bob's grandmother's name was Lavina Shaw. This information was shared. The events that took place throughout Bob's childhood were brought to light, including a recall from when he was perhaps 7 or 8 years old, and his grandmother informed him about the unexpected loss of his mother. These events were brought to light. According to the report, she was found outside of a tavern having been severely beaten. She had been exposed to the outer elements. A shocking revelation regarding the life of Lavina Shaw was discovered by the Applegates when they conducted an additional study into the court documents by looking through them. The fact that she had been subjected to both mental and physical assault at the hands of her husband Paul, who was also Bob's father, brought the matter to light. Paul was also the father of Bob. If the documents are to be believed, she displayed a courageous act in 1941 when she made the decision to leave him while she was carrying her kid. Even though they reconciled, the situation continued to deteriorate. Consequently, Shaw came to the conclusion that it would be best to end their marriage for good. Despite the fact that she started living with another person, Paul continued to accuse her of being disloyal, and he was successful in the lawsuit that he filed against her. Their child made the decision to live with Paul's mother as a consequence of this. On her death certificate, there was a statement that claimed she had lung sickness and liver damage as a result of consuming an excessive amount of alcohol previous to the horrible injury and the death of her partner in 2005. This statement had been included because she had consumed an excessive amount of alcohol. The well-known musical Sweet Charity was getting ready to make a huge comeback to Broadway during the springtime, after having been missing from the stage for a substantial amount of time. As a means of getting themselves warmed up, they were performing a number of performances throughout the city of Chicago. Christina Applegate, who is most recognized for her work on television, was getting ready for her first significant role on stage. She was getting ready for the role Charity Hope Valentine. A dancer who is going through a terrible phase was meant to be the key role that she was going to represent. However, she ended up playing some other character instead. Due to the fact that the event was well known for its dancing, it found out that she had shattered a bone in her foot while she was trying to continue, but the pain was too much for her to bear. She suffered a severe injury to her foot. Christina did not give up on her role, even though she was eventually forced to step aside and another actor took over her role. She took the time to heal, and she did get better. Nevertheless, despite the fact that she was prepared to return to the stage, the people in charge of the show decided to cancel the Broadway performances. It is likely that they did not want to take any chances with her getting harmed again, or perhaps they believed that the timing was not appropriate. The major Broadway revival did not go according to plan, which is a very regrettable development. She was able to convince the event planners to proceed with the production despite the fact that she was forced to contend with obstacles. This resulted in Sweet Charity making its premiere on Broadway in the month of May in the year 2005. The performance that Applegate gave got her a nomination for a Tony Award in the category of Best Actress in a Musical. However, this would prove to be the end of her career on Broadway, as she struggled with a broken bone that had not yet healed. To preserve her foot while she was performing, she resorted to wearing shoes that were specifically designed for medical purposes. Regrettably, this choice resulted in damage that lasted for a long time. She bemoaned the fact that she is no longer able to dance in an interview with The Insider, in which she was reflecting on her experience. Due to the fact that she had always adored the idea of returning to dance, this discovery caused her to feel a profound sense of sadness. It was unfortunate that it appeared to be highly improbable that she would ever be able to realize that dream. Christina Applegate began a new relationship with Lee Grievous, an Alaskan fisherman and photographer, not long after her marriage to Jonathan Schaich came to an end in 2005. Grievous is also a photographer. However, Grievous's struggle with addiction to alcohol and narcotics ultimately led to the destruction of their time spent together. Christina's decision to break her relationship with him was a direct result of the strain that this difficulty produced in their relationship. It has been reported by the National Enquirer that Christina had a deep affection for Grievous, but she was unable to face the sight of him destroying his own life via addiction. Adding to the emotional turbulence that was already there in their relationship was this internal conflict. Applegate and Grievous, for what would prove to be the last time, reconciled their differences in April of 2008. However, their reunion did not last long because they went their own ways later on in the same year. An alleged overdose was the cause of Grievous's death, which was discovered in his house in Hollywood in July. He was only 26 years old at the time of his death. The demise of Grievous has left a profound impact on Christina, who has expressed her sorrow in a statement to the U.S. Weekly. In the statement, she describes Grievous as an extraordinary individual who played a significant role in her life. Martin Lenovo, a musician, and Christina Applegate initially came into contact with one another in the middle of the 1990s. In those days, Lenovo served as the foundation for the alternative rock band Pornographic Film that Pyros produced. Over the course of time, their relationship progressed beyond that of simple friendship and eventually blossomed into passion. When they made the decision to take the leap and become engaged on the romantic occasion of Valentine's Day in 2010, their love journey hit a significant milestone after reaching a significant milestone in the year 2008. After that, in the year 2013, they reaffirmed their dedication to one another by going through the process of exchanging vows in the context of marriage. Their union was further blessed with the advent of their daughter Sadie, who was born in 2011, bringing them a source of joy and contentment that they had not previously experienced in their lives. The path that Christina and Martin have taken together, on the other hand, has not been devoid of its fair share of challenges and difficulties. In September of 2012, their tranquil existence was shattered by a horrific occurrence that included a person who threatened Martin Lenovo on social media. The guy targeted Martin Lenovo. When the culprit expressed his irrational frustrations, he made a scary declaration that he intended to cause harm to Lenovo. He explained his actions by claiming that they were motivated by a perceived theft of Christina Applegate's affection. The individual made descriptive assertions of violence and damage, including specific references to causing physical pain and death, which escalated the threats to horrific proportions, which is the reason why there have been no arrests made up until this point. However, there is more to the story of Christina. Throughout the course of her life, Christina Applegate has been confronted with a variety of health issues. She has fought with insomnia for over 20 years, a condition that causes her to have trouble sleeping. This is one of the unique issues that she has struggled with. In her description, she discussed the effects that this disease had on her bodily, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I was particularly concerned about the impact it had on her capacity to function during her 20s and 30s, which frequently resulted in her remaining awake throughout the night. Insomnia is not the only health risk, which is a sad reality. When she went in for a normal checkup in 2008, she was confronted with a very concerning result that was discovered during an MRI scan. Because of this discovery, her physician decided to order a biopsy. Regrettably, the findings indicated the presence of a cancerous tumor, and she was given the tragic diagnosis of breast cancer. At the time of the diagnosis, Christina was only 36 years old, which was 2 years younger than her mother, who was diagnosed with the same condition when she was the same age. The experience that Christina had with breast cancer was very terrifying, especially when one considers the fact that her family had a history of the disease. She had no idea that she would be diagnosed with it herself, despite the fact that she was aware that it was a tendency in her family. In a forthright manner, she stated that she was experiencing a great deal of worry around her diagnosis, and she expressed her fear using forceful language. Christina's physical and emotional well-being has unquestionably suffered as a result of the challenges she has faced with her health. It can be a very difficult situation to be in when you are dealing with chronic insomnia for decades and then suddenly being diagnosed with a life-threatening illness like breast cancer at a relatively early age. If someone has this change, it is referred to as a mutation in the BRCA gene. Christina went to the doctor to find out if she had a change in her genes, which is referred to as a mutation. It indicates that individuals have a higher risk of developing breast cancer, which ranges from 40 to 85%, and if they do have cancer, it may return even after therapy has been administered. According to the results of the test, Christina possessed this trait in her genes. So, in order to make a genuine effort to prevent the cancer from returning, her decision to undergo surgical removal of both breasts was a conscious one. It was once asked of her why she had just decided to let both of them go, and she responded affirmatively, saying, "This decision was a big one, and this decision meant that she would have to undergo surgery to remove both of her breasts, which is known as a double mastectomy." However, Christina felt that it was essential to do everything in her power to reduce the likelihood of the cancer returning. So, she made the difficult decision to undergo this surgery, which was accompanied by the challenges of multiple sclerosis. Receiving the news that you have cancer can be a source of a great deal of stress in and of itself. But for Christina Applegate, it was even more difficult because she is famous. People found out about her diagnosis before she was ready to tell them, which made things even more difficult. After undergoing surgery to remove both of her breasts, she didn't have much time to really understand what was happening to her. She told More magazines that she experienced a moment in which she felt as though she had completely disintegrated emotionally. She said, "It was good that they shared the news. However, when she was forced to discuss the specifics of the illness, it was difficult for her. She didn't want to think about what was happening to her body. When things slowed down, all of the emotions hit her at once. She was shaking, and she had to switch to a mode of taking care of things, which meant changing her diet to be healthier. Christina's experience shows how overwhelming it can be to have to deal with a serious illness while also being in the public eye. She had to face not only the physical challenges of her diagnosis, but also the pressure of being watched and talked about by so many people. After her surgery, Christina had to find a way to cope with everything that was happening. Christina found out she had a mutation of the BRCA gene, which meant she had a higher chance of getting ovarian cancer. Someone in her family, her cousin, died from ovarian cancer in 2008. In 2017, she made the decision to undergo surgery in order to remove her fallopian tubes and ovaries. She discussed this topic today, stating that it was a way for her to take control of her health. She felt relieved to have one less thing to worry about, and she even joked about it, saying that now she just needed to hope that she didn't get hit by a bus. As if all she had faced wasn't enough, another heartbreaking event happened when Christina Applegate hit the big 5-0. Something strange started happening to her body. She noticed this weird buzzing feeling in her arms and legs, like her whole body was vibrating, and it wasn't just that. She also couldn't feel much in those areas either. It was like her limbs were going numb, which is pretty scary when you think about it. As time went on, things didn't get better. They got worse. Christina told Variety all about it. She said, "First, my toes went numb, but I didn't think much of it. Then it spread to the balls of my feet, and still I brushed it off. But then out of nowhere, I'd find myself losing my balance and stumbling. Can you imagine how unsettling that must have been for her to make matters worse?" When Christina discussed her concerns with other people, they simply shrugged it off and said things like it was probably just neuropathy. However, it wasn't that simple. Neuropathy may sound like a fancy medical term, but all it means is nerve damage. And true nerve damage is not something to be taken lightly. It can mess with your body in all sorts of ways, causing tingling numbness and even loss of balance like Christina was experiencing. But Christina's problem was more than neuropathy. Regardless, Christina didn't let it defeat her. Instead of just accepting her fate, she took action. She sought medical help and started tackling this issue head-on. Christina then discovered that she struggled to walk short distances while filming her Netflix series, Dead to Me. Apart from this, she noticed changes in her sleeping patterns, unexpected weight gain, and difficulties maintaining balance. These worrisome symptoms culminated in a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis during the summer of 2021. Multiple sclerosis is a progressive neurological disorder characterized by the body's immune system attacking its own tissues. This autoimmune response leads to a breakdown in the communication between the brain and the rest of the body, resulting in a myriad of symptoms including mobility issues, vision impairment, balance problems, muscle weakness, and speech difficulties. The impact of MS on Christina's health necessitated a pause in the production of the third season of Dead to Me for 5 months. This break made it possible for her to prioritize receiving medical treatment and care in order to effectively manage her condition. Although there are treatments available to lessen the effects of multiple sclerosis, MS, and slow down its progression, there is currently no known cure for the disease. As a result, people who are living with MS, such as Christina, are required to concentrate on managing their symptoms and maintaining their quality of life to the greatest extent possible. She employed Applegate mentioned her reliance on humor as a shield to maintain a facade of normalcy, but she clearly admitted that beneath the surface, she had experienced a number of major losses in her life and in a part of her identity. In a conversation with the New York Times in 2022, Christina stated that she needed to confront and process the many major losses that she had experienced. She had experienced both in terms of her life and a part of her identity. She was down with the weight of her emotions and struggles after her diagnosis of multiple sclerosis at the onset of treatment. Applegate found herself confronted with the reality of her new limitations, forced into retirement due to her health condition. She had the daunting task of adjusting to a life that now included managing a chronic illness. In an interview with Variety, she spoke about the necessity of allowing oneself the time to understand the intricacies of the disease and identify triggers for symptoms. She also admitted to feeling like a novice in that unfamiliar experience as Dead to Me continued to be filmed. Christina still had issues because of her health. Although she could still walk, it was noticeably slower, and she relied on a cane for support. As a result of the exhaustion caused by the California heat and the long working hours, she frequently required a wheelchair in between takes. Additionally, there were scenes in which a member of the crew had to assist her in remaining upright. In order to accommodate her condition, certain sequences had to be rewritten so that she could lean against doors for support. In some instances, filming days had to be canceled entirely if she did not have the strength to leave her home. In 2023, Christina made a veiled reference to the prospect of totally retiring from live-action roles after the completion of Dead to Me. In an interview with Vanity Fair, she voiced uncertainty about the future advancement of her health, stating that she could not even envisage going to set at the moment. In spite of the fact that we might not hear from Christina for a while, the world will miss her presence on comedy television. Will you miss Christina's acting, humor, and presence on television? Let us know in the comments if you enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our next updates.